What's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about the best compact phones for late 2021 going into 2022. I've used all of these phones, so I can verify that they are very comfortable in the hand, from the $200 range to all the way up to the more premium range, starting with the Samsung S10e or the Galaxy S10e. Probably the best bet for most people. This is one of my favorite phones of this year. It has a glass back, aluminum frame, IP68 dust and water resistant, a great build quality, and like I said, very comfortable in the hand. You can easily use this phone one-handed. It's one thing that I really love about it. So it has a 5.8-inch dynamic AMOLED display, HDR10 plus. I've heard from several people, even in my comments, say that this is the perfect size. It's not too big and it's not too small. So for watching videos, playing games, it's not going to be super tiny, but it's also not going to be too big for you. It is 1080p 438 for the PPI. Overall, a very nice, colorful display, pretty sharp as well. It does have Android 11. It will get the Android 12 update. The Snapdragon 855 and Adreno 640 is on board. Pretty much still a flagship chipset. It can play pretty much any game you throw at it. I do have a gaming test. Be sure to check that out. Call of Duty, PUBG, Fortnite, it plays fantastic. So just an awesome device for gaming. You do have micro SD support along with 128 gigs of internal storage and 6 gigs of RAM. You also have stereo speakers on here which sound amazing, very crisp and clear, great bass. In addition to that, you actually do have a headphone jack on here, which is really awesome. This phone also has a ton of bells and whistles, NFC, like I said, IP68, physical fingerprint scanner, side mounted, fantastic, works flawlessly. And you also have Samsung desktop support, and all the little bells and whistles with One UI is on board with the reverse wireless charging and stuff like that. This phone actually still has pretty good cameras, a 12 megapixel standard, 16 megapixel ultra wide, 4K video at 60 with a 10 megapixel selfie at 4K 60. You get awesome image quality on here, especially for an older flagship, especially with the price you're paying. Fantastic photos, and honestly, I don't have anything negative to say about the S10e's cameras, just because of the price and to performance ratio. It's just too good to really say anything negative here. I guess the one downside with this phone is that it does have a 3100 milliamp battery, 15-watt charging. You do have wireless charging on here with the reverse wireless charging, but this phone will give you around 4 hours and 30 minutes of screen on time, which is technically not enough for a day. A day's use has to be around that 6 hours of screen on time. So battery life, you are gonna have to get like a battery pack, or if you're a light user, you can get away with using this phone all day. But if you're heavy into games and stuff like that, heavy applications, you're gonna need to bring a battery pack with you. All right, next is the newest compact smartphone. The iPhone 13 mini came out, I think, like 2 months ago. Phenomenal device, guys. This is really awesome if you want one of the latest flagships that's really small. It's an aluminum frame, IP68 dust and water resistant, really tiny phone, guys, at 5.4 inches for the display, but the body size is just tiny. It's crazy. It's got the Super Retina XDR OLED display. It's a beautiful display, 1080p 476 for the PPI. Like I said, great display, very color accurate, very sharp display. This is an extremely powerful phone, the most powerful phone on this list by benchmarks. Apple A15 chip, iOS 15, 128 gigs of internal storage, 4 gigs of RAM, no SD card support, of course. And just a phenomenal phone for gaming, and this thing is just blazing fast. I mean, it is super fast getting into applications, multitasking, bouncing around. It is a very powerful phone. We do have stereo speakers which have excellent bass quality, just very loud speakers in general, so I really love that. It has NFC with your Apple Pay. Face ID is still on board with this guy, and I would say the best cameras on this list here, just phenomenal cameras as far as color accuracy, detail. It is just excellent video. Just some beautiful cameras on here. 12 megapixel standard, 12 megapixel ultra wide. It shoots in 4K 60, 30, and 24. Then we have a 12 megapixel selfie that shoots in 4K 60, 30, 25, and 24. So like I said, if you want the best cameras and the fastest phone, it would be the 13 mini, but it's gonna cost you around like $700. So it's a little bit on the more expensive side. So you do have on here a 2438 milliamp battery with 18-watt charging, MagSafe wireless charging at 15, and then wireless charging at 7.5. So this phone has phenomenal battery life. It has the best battery life on this list. I think it's due to the A15 chip. Just phenomenal. This phone will easily get you 6 hours and 30 minutes, if not more. It's just phenomenal. So the battery life, if you're worried about a smaller phone, battery life, this is probably one of the only phones that can get you like all day battery life easily. So extremely impressed with this phone this year. All right, next is the iPhone 12 mini, which I think is an extremely good deal because they're going for 512 bucks. If you guys haven't seen my refurbished unboxing, it is just a phenomenal deal. I got it for like 6 something, so now that it's 5 something, that is just crazy. So this phone is basically the 13 mini, but the battery life is just not as good, but pretty much everything else is the same. So you're getting a flagship phone, and it's the same design pretty much with slightly different camera design, aluminum frame, glass back, IP68 dust and water resistant, same screen size. So it is, these are the smallest phones that you can get, by the way, I believe. So the 12 mini and 13 mini, these are like the smallest flagship phones you can get. They're super small. Super Retina XDR OLED display, 5.4 inches, again 1080p, 476 for the PPI. Another beautiful display, very color accurate. The notch on here is a little bit bigger. The 13 minis is 20% smaller, but overall it's not going to make that much of a difference. The Apple A14 chip is basically still as fast as the A15 chip. It's not going to be that big of a difference in real life. You also have 64 gigs of internal storage and 4 gigs of RAM on the base model, so take that into consideration. You do have on here the same sounding stereo speakers. To me, NFC with Apple Pay, Face ID on here is phenomenal. The cameras to me look exactly the same. So I wouldn't say that the 13 mini has a massive upgrade because I just didn't see it. But you do have a 12 megapixel standard, 12 megapixel ultra wide 4K video, 60, 30, 24. And then you have a 12 megapixel selfie at 60, 30, 24 that shoots in 4K. Like I said, to me, you're getting the same kind of photos. I think for an average photo taker, you're really going to struggle to notice the difference between the 13 mini and the 12 mini. But phenomenal photos nonetheless, and excellent video quality with this guy as well. Now this one has a 2227 milliamp battery with 20-watt charging, again with the MagSafe wireless charging at 15 and the wireless charging at 7.5. The 12 mini kind of falls in line with the S10e. It can get you around that 4 hours and 30 minutes screen on time. Again, if you're like a normal to heavy user. A lighter user, maybe you can kind of squeeze a day out of here if you're really light on the phone. But battery life is just not super phenomenal on this phone. But everything else is just absolutely awesome about this device. Next is the Asus Zenfone 8. Guys, this is a phenomenal phone here this year. I absolutely love this phone. So it comes in at a 5.9 inch display, 1080p, Super AMOLED, 120 hertz. So it is a phenomenal and beautiful display, 446 for the PPI. And like I said, at 5.9 inches, it's under 6 inches, so it's not too big. I think when I had it, it wasn't too big. It didn't feel too big, even though I know that would seem like a little big to you guys. But I'm telling you, once you get it in the hand, you're going to notice that this might be a sweet spot. It's really in line with the S10e as far as size goes. But like I said, it's a really nice feeling phone. So I think, I really don't think it's too big for you guys. Android 11 on here, Snapdragon 888, Adreno 660. One of the most powerful phones, I think second to like the 13 mini. Just it's going to blow through pretty much anything you throw at it. And like I said, this is the only phone on the list with a 120 hertz display. So it's going to feel faster than all of these phones on the list as far as scrolling, swiping, playing games that are compatible with it. It really does feel extremely fast. So just gaming and doing anything on this phone is phenomenal. This phone does not have any SD card support, unfortunately. You get 128 gigs of internal storage, 6 gigs of RAM. Stereo speakers are on here, super loud, crazy bass. You're going to absolutely love that. And they actually kept the headphone jack, which is crazy too. NFC is on board, and you have a dual camera setup, 64 megapixel standard, 12 megapixel ultra wide, 8K video at 24, and a 12 megapixel selfie that shoots in 4K 30. Awesome cameras on here. So I really like the images. I think they're definitely up there with flagship quality photos. So I really didn't have any complaints with that. But this phone has a super speedy under the display fingerprint sensor as well as a 4,000 milliamp battery at 30 watts. So this phone charges extremely fast. Absolutely love it. And you also have reverse charging on here. Now, here's the thing about the battery life. Battery life on this phone wasn't that impressive, even with the 4,000 milliamps. I think it was due to the 120 hertz display on here, which just a kind of a small battery with 120 hertz is just kind of a bit much, I think, for this display size. But battery life was around the S10e. Again, most of these phones really can only do like the 4 hours and 30 minutes. That's why I said the 13 mini was just really impressive this year. But nonetheless, this is an excellent, powerful phone. Now, last is going to be the iPhone SE 2020. This has the absolute smallest screen on the list at 4.7 inches, 720p plus 326 for the PPI. IP67 dust and water resistant. It keeps the body style of the iPhone 8. So basically, if you want the absolute smallest screen and it's gonna have the best specs as far as speed, and this actually has a great camera, this is gonna be the best bet, and it comes in at now a little bit under 300 bucks, so it's kind of cheap. Apple A13 chip on here, iOS 15. It's just blazing fast still. 64 gigs of internal storage, 3 gigs of RAM on here. This thing can play pretty much any game you throw at it at high settings. It is definitely a beast when it comes to performance. Basically, you have stereo speakers on here. They sound pretty good for the size of this phone, it being so tiny. So they're not the loudest on the list, but they sound pretty decent. And also, I think a highlight with this phone is the camera. So it's got a 12 megapixel standard 4K video, 2430 60. I think the camera is phenomenal. The only thing that ages the camera is that it's just one lens. There's no ultra wide, no telephoto. It's just that one lens. But if you don't take a bunch of pictures like that, this camera is going to be excellent for you. It even does pretty decent in low light as well. 7 megapixel selfie also does pretty good. So to me, this takes way better photos than what the prices suggest here. 300 bucks, it takes photos up there with $600-700 phones. So I was really happy with image quality. The Touch ID is also a really nice feature for people who want a physical home button and you're not interested in the Face ID. That's also another good option. Again, battery life is kind of mediocre on this phone, 1,821 milliamps, 18 hours of screen on time, or 18-hour fast charging. Wireless charging is on board with this phone, which is awesome. Basically, your screen on time is like 4 hours, 30 minutes, or something like that. So nothing too crazy. Like, it's pretty much a trend at this point with these smaller phones. So that is pretty much it. I want to add a honorable mention, the Pixel 5a 5G. That is an awesome phone, but it comes in at like 6.3 inches. I didn't think it was too big, but I think that's too big for most people that are looking for a compact phone. But me personally, I thought it was a pretty nice size, honestly. But that has a great camera, excellent battery life. I mean, phenomenal battery life, a pretty decent chip. I really like the phone, great screen, and pure Google software is just awesome. So yeah, but that might be too big for you guys. So, but still check it out. Check my video out on it. It might not be. That's pretty much it. Thanks for watching.